What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to J. Cool.
Welcome to all our viewers across Africa and across the world. This is Thuso Khumalo coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. We've got breaking news for you this evening. We know that there was a long struggle between the family of former Zambian President Edgar Lungu and the Zambian government over his body. We know that he passed away here. But now what has just happened is that the court earlier today ruled that his body should be repatriated and sent back to Zambia because his family was insisting that they want him buried here. But we have just received news that the family has now appealed that decision of the court. This is what happened over 2 months since he passed away. There was this back and forth, the government saying they want him buried in Zambia because he's a former president. He has to be given certain accolades, certain respect, certain salutes, and all that protocol that has to be done for former presidents. But the family insisted it wanted him buried here. It seems the bad blood between the former Zambian president and the current president Hichilema was the main issue. The family saying he ill-treated him, he took away his protection as a president and some of the benefits that he was supposed to have as a president in terms of the protection, saying the current president refused that Lungu comes to South Africa to seek medical attention until it was too late. But now the court has ruled. They appeared in court. There was a long court back and forth, and now the judgment was today. This is what the judge ordered. Judge Ledwaba, he ordered that the body of Lungu should be repatriated back to Zambia and be buried where other presidents are buried according to the Zambian law. His argument was that it is in the public interest, and that public interest supersedes the interest of the family members who wanted him buried here. But now the family is sticking to its guns, saying it's not accepting that decision. It wants to appeal the entire court judgment or court order, meaning we are now back to square one. 2 months later, we're still having no clue in terms of whether he's going to be buried here or is going to be buried in Zambia, because once an appeal is lodged, it means the court order is suspended until this appeal is resolved. But just to talk through this issue, I've got a number of people in South Africa who want to express their views, just to understand what they expect and if they think the family is correct by insisting what they're insisting, or if they think the government on the other side is correct to insist that he should be buried not in South Africa but in Zambia. I'm going to bring you Dan Maphalala Mabunda, one of the people who fought for the liberation for Southern Africa, here in South Africa, in Zimbabwe and elsewhere. Just to understand, sir, we have got this that have been going on. The court has ruled that the body of former President Edgar Lungu be repatriated back to Zambia to be buried as a former president, so that he's given all the respect and all the salute that's due to him. But the family is appealing. What's your take on that?
I understand the court's sentiments and the court's prayers and the people's prayers that Zambia, as the former Zambian president Edgar Lungu, should be buried back, repatriated and buried back in Zambia. But according to all, the surface is not balanced so far. Whatever chased him to come here so that at the end he ended up fighting here, there's an underlying currencies which are happening with this thing. That he left Zambia not on a goodwill. He had to find means to get out, come and get medicine. But it was very, very late. And I understand the sentiments from and the anger from the close relatives that no, they had treated him very, very bad, and there's a lot of things. As I said, there's underlying currencies here which are happening. That they should have treated him very well. But finally, at the end, he will go get buried in Zambia. Maybe after this current president when he's gone, they will rebury him again. There will be another reburial. But so far, so things are worse. I think there's a lot of dust here. The dust hasn't settled yet.
As a former freedom fighter yourself, you know how bad it has been for the freedom fighters, for people who are left in their countries to be buried outside. We have got resumations where people have got to be taken back to their countries again. Is it a wise idea for the family to insist that he's buried here when obviously you are saying maybe later on he's going to be exhumed again and be reburied in Zambia?
Yes, definitely, but finally he will be buried in Zambia, exhumed and be reburied in Zambia. But what is going on here, especially in Southern Africa, we must learn to respect the former liberation movements and the leaders and former leaders, not to ill-treat and start fighting each other. That is very, very bad, and that we're going nowhere. And it's about time which things are happening now, like Donald Trump is busy kicking African countries out. We're supposed to get united and think further than this. Now, all these things that we do, you are in power already. I don't see why must you fight a guy who's out of power. He's got no power. Why are you fighting him? So these things are coming to hit back. I mean, it doesn't sound well and play well to the current leader.
Thank you very much. You can hear them. Thank you so much, Sam. You can hear them, Mr. Mabunda, saying there's a problem here in Africa with leaders fighting each other. But some of the people that I've spoken to, they also say there are problems with leaders who always want to go back to power. We know that former President Lungu indicated that he wanted to run again for the presidency, and this is how he was stripped of some of the privileges that he enjoyed as a president. But these are some of the views that we hear from the people that are here. But also some South Africans saying the burial here in South Africa, it means it gives Lungu's family the rights to be here. They are going always to be here. We know that currently in South Africa there is this animosity between a group called Operation Dudula and immigrants in South Africa, where there is this resistance of having immigrants coming to stay in South Africa. So some of the people voicing strongly saying, no, it's going to encourage these people and their families to come into South Africa anytime, and for them that is not correct. But of course, some people siding with the government as well, saying whatever fightings were there, this is the time now to respect the dead. This is the time to honor President Lungu, and he can only be honored in South Africa. But the family insisting that whatever happens, they don't want the current president, Chilema, to be present during that burial. Whether finally he goes to Zambia or here in South Africa, they don't want him present because they allege that he ill-treated the men. But as it is now, with this new appeal that has just come in, we are going to see people going back now to the Supreme Court of Appeal in South Africa to try and argue out in terms of whether he's going or is coming. I've got Nkosi Ncube here, who is a journalist, a politician, and an analyst as well, just to take us through what do you make of the court decisions and the appeal that is just now coming?
I think the court did what it thought was right, and we have to respect that decision. But in the long run, we also need to consider why the family is doing this, because we also know that when Lungu was ill, when he was sick, he tried to get out of Zambia to try and seek medical attention outside in Zimbabwe and in South Africa. But we know that also at the background of that, he was arrested, his wife was arrested, was accused of a number of other things. But also the main issue is that he said he was being persecuted. He was not allowed to go out of the country to seek medical treatment. He was being accused of trying to stage a coup against the existing government, against the status quo. So in that, the family now feels justified that because he was denied that medical attention that he needed, that he couldn't get in Zambia, he therefore, or the state of Zambia contributed to his death, because it contributed, it refused him medical attention, it worsened his status.
But does that justify him being buried outside his own country, a country that he led, a country that he loved so much as a president in Africa?
I think we need to consider that we are Africans. We believe that the wishes of a dying person cannot be second guessed. But now we are seeing the government of Zambia second guessing him. We're seeing the court of South Africa second guessing him, and we are breaking away from African tradition, which says that if a dying man says this or declares this, it must be followed. And they are saying that they are suspecting that the the Zambian government wants to perform a ritual with his body, or whether with his body or his grave. So we don't know the culture of Zambians. I cannot state right away that they are right or wrong, but they know it better. Maybe they know he's a former president. Maybe he knows that these are the things that they do when they bury a former president. We know that there are about 4 or 5 former Zambian presidents that have died. As it is right now, there is no former Zambian president who is alive. So they know, or maybe they've got insight into what they do with these bodies, and the family says they don't want this to be done to him. So we can give them that benefit of the doubt, but also we must not forget that there is a procedure that the Zambian government does. Maybe, just maybe, if the president of Zambia recused himself from presiding over this burial, or maybe stayed away from it, maybe the family was going to maybe have a second thought. But as it is right now, I believe that they are justified based on the insight that they have, and based on the African tradition that a dying man cannot be second guessed.
Just before I let you go, analyze this for me. We saw a lot of crying in court by family members when this judgment was handed down. One woman cried uncontrollable and emotions were very high. What does that indicate? Are they fearing going back to Zambia? Is it because they really, by all means, wanted him to be buried here? What do you read from the wailing and the sadness that we saw when this judgment was handed down?
I think it can be both, but we also need to understand that this is a family still in mourning. For as long as the former president is not buried, the family remains in mourning. For as long as he has been buried and is still within that time frame, maybe 3 to 6 months, they will remain in mourning, and they will continue mourning him. Then they also remember that this guy, according to them, was persecuted. The people who persecuted him when he was alive, when he was sick, are persecuting him even after his death. So to them, this brings a number of emotions, and to them, the current Zambian government is an enemy. Now, you don't want your loved one who has died at the hands of somebody that you believe is your enemy also being handed over to that very enemy. And as it is, I believe that the Zambian government, especially President Hichilema, is celebrating that I conquered him when he was alive politically, I conquered him when he was alive seeking treatment, and I've conquered him again when he's dead in terms of the court action. So this brings a lot of emotion, and I personally am also mourning with them in my heart.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. You can hear for yourself a lot of emotions, even with people that are bystanders and people in the family. But the reactions from the government was that it is a victory. If he finally goes to Zambia, it is a victory for the Zambians. It is a time for Zambians to have a closure, to say farewell to their former president, which is something that the family is not in agreement with. But as things stand now, there is an appeal, and the parties are going to go back to court and argue again in terms of where is he really going to be buried. 2 months down the line, no solution, and no solution in sight. Thuso Khumalo, coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to JQ News. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the latest updates on tech, politics, and everything in between. Until next time, stay cool.